What's up, guys? Welcome to Swap Metal Live and welcome to this week's episode of Inside SML presented by our friends at O'Neill. Yes, it's August, but we do have some Supercross to discuss in this week's episode, and that's because round one of the FIM World Supercross Championship is set to kick off tomorrow in Calgary. I'm going to share some of my thoughts, some sleeper picks, and more in this week's episode. As I'm sure you guys are all well aware, this is the second off weekend of the summer from the 2026 Pro Motocross Championship, but we do have some racing going on aside from everything at Loretta's at the ranch, as round one of the FIM World Supercross Championship is kicking off tomorrow in Calgary, Canada, for their Canadian GP. Now, obviously, there's the favorites in SX1 and SX2, that being your reigning champs, Jason Anderson and Max Anstie. However, there's some new contestants this year for the 2026 FIM World Supercross Championship that I would like to discuss. A lot of switch-up happening after round one this weekend. And yeah, there's actually a lot of storylines when you zoom out and look at the field in whole. So we're going to go over some of those. I'm going to start off in the SX2 Championship because one of the biggest hires for the whole FIM World Supercross crew for 2026 is Cameron McAdoo. Now, it's a little bit underreported, and that's just because there's been a lot to figure out for Cameron McAdoo, his future team, and Mitch Payton at Pro Circuit Kawasaki, who he's currently employed through. Now, as far as round one, Mitch Payton actually sent a bike as well as a mechanic up to Canada for Cameron to race. So Cameron will be racing on a Pro Circuit Kawasaki, what he's been on for quite some time. But following round one, he's switching. He's going to be with a new home next year. That will all be announced soon. So we should expect to see him on a CRF 250R for round two of the World Supercross Championship. Now, there's some factors that I want to get into with Cameron that I think really puts him as somewhat of a championship sleeper for FIM World Supercross this year. Yes, he's being slept on because there hasn't been a whole lot of publicity because of this team switch. And yes, we haven't seen him line up and race in quite some time, but he has been doing a lot of riding here in Southern California. I'd say he's been back on the bike for the last 2 months, maybe even longer. I think at one point there was a possibility we would see him do some Pro Motocross Championship races for Mitch Payton and Pro Circuit Monster Energy Kawasaki, especially as the season went on and they got some more injuries. That kind of got called off from what I've heard. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks, he switched his focus to Supercross, been doing a lot of Supercross laps in the hills of Corona. He's prepared quite well for this upcoming championship, despite not a whole lot of publicity around it. Another factor why I think Cameron McAdoo is a little slept on going into this championship is, yeah, he's switching to a Honda, but if you guys remember, before this Mitch Payton deal, Cameron has a lengthy history with a Honda, and especially a CRF 250R. Cameron spent a lot of his time on that platform. Yes, the machine's changed a little bit, but it's really only a generation, maybe 2 generations different. And if you're fans of Swap Metal Live and watch our 250 shootout every year, you would know the Honda 250 hasn't changed a whole lot as it's progressed, not like its older brother in the 450 class. So I don't think it'll take a lot for Cameron to get used to this new bike. Plus, not to mention, Yariv, that whole crew, they're really smart, they're really good at what they do, and I think the Quadlock Honda platform is a really good platform for a privateer bike. So I don't think there's going to be as much adjustment that's needed for Cameron. I think he's actually going to be quite used to this bike and feel quite at home once he gets onto it pretty immediately. Now, while Cameron is a little bit more prepared than what's out there, and I think he'll feel quite comfortable on his new bike following round one, the biggest factor why I think Cameron McAdoo is a little bit slept on for this championship is it's Cameron McAdoo. This guy is all heart. Now, obviously, Cameron is essentially losing his factory ride, a home he's had for quite some time under the Pro Circuit Kawasaki rig. And if I know Cameron, which I do a little bit on the personal side, I know he's probably got a lot of proving he wants to do. This kid's all heart. He is a really, really hard worker, and I'm sure that he wants to go out next year and in this World Supercross Championship and prove some guys wrong. Other than that, in SX2, obviously you have Max Anstie, the reigning champ, who's racing for Rick Ware. I think he's going to be great as always. He's been doing a lot of training at Club MX. Seems like he's pretty used to the bike already. It's probably not a whole lot different than his factory YZ250F that he just got off of. So yeah, Max is going to be great. Definitely the favorite heading into this championship. You also have Crockett Myers, Kyle Peters on the HEP bikes. I think they'll be pretty solid. Henry Miller, Devin Simonson. Yeah, there's a couple good players. I think we're going to get some great battles from second to fifth at a lot of the rounds this season. Moving on to SX1. Obviously, Cooper Webb is joining for the entire championship this year, so that's going to be a great addition to the championship. And then obviously you have reigning champ Jason Anderson as well, Ando's been back on the bike for quite some time. Honestly, it's similar to McAdoo. We've seen Anderson probably around the same time periods back riding outdoors, and then Anderson too made the switch to Supercross about 3 weeks ago and has been doing a lot of laps out here in the heat. So Jason should be somewhat sharp when the gate drops tomorrow for the first time. But other than those favorites, another sleeper for SX1, in my opinion, is Justin Hill, and especially for round one tomorrow at Calgary. I'll get into those factors why. First off, being that Justin Hill is completely recharged and rested heading into this. Yes, Jason Anderson also is, but Jason also is dealing with the fact that he hasn't had a gate drop in quite some time. Justin Hill had a great Supercross Championship, especially towards the latter half of it, and then he's taken a good amount of time to rest and recharge, while Cooper Webb has been racing outdoors and grinding, probably one of the best outdoor seasons that he's had. So I'd expect Justin Hill to be quite sharp for the first gate drop this weekend. Now the second factor is really weather depending, but it's going to be really similar conditions to where Justin Hill does a lot of his riding at his ranch in Wyoming, as far as elevation, and then the soil hard pack, a little bit of clay mixture, I think, and probably going to get a little slick. These are all conditions that Justin Hill really excels in. Think Denver Supercross, think Salt Lake City, Nashville even. Justin Hill really excels on those conditions. So if we don't get any rain tomorrow, which it's looking like it's only 30% right now, I think that's going to play into his favor as well. And then the other big thing why I think he's being overlooked for this championship, or even for one of the guys that's going to get some wins this season, is he had a horrible 2025 World Supercross. He was with Bud Racing on a Kawasaki he really didn't mesh with. If you want to hear more about that, we actually had Justin Hill on the SML show right after the World Supercross Championship and before A1, and he talked about how much he struggled on that Kawasaki and it just wasn't what he's used to. He loves his Tedder bike. Well, this year he's going to be racing on that Tedder bike. He's going to be much more comfortable, and I imagine he's just going to treat every race like a playground and have fun, and that's when we get the best Justin Hill. Those are some of my key points on Justin Hill and why I think he's a little slept on for the championship, but mainly for Calgary this weekend. I really think he's going to go out there and grab the win. Cooper Webb obviously is going to be a favorite for this championship alongside Jason Anderson. The only thing with Webb, much like Cameron McAdoo's situation, Cooper too is going to be switching teams for the 2027 season, going to that Team Tedder team with Justin Hill next year. So after the opening round tomorrow in Calgary, Cooper Webb's going to be making the move to a Husqvarna. Originally I thought it was going to be a KTM, but it sounds like by then Team Tedder will have their new Husqvarna equipment, which they'll be racing on in 2027. So yeah, Webb's going to be making the switch back to an Austrian brand. He's not going to have a whole lot of time to do so. Cameron McAdoo's situation is a little unique because he's not necessarily racing outdoors, so maybe he gets out of his contract early and is able to ride some laps on the Honda before round 2 of FIM World Supercross. Webb, on the other hand, he's racing till the end of the season on this Star Racing Yamaha 450, outdoors included. So he's really only going to have about a week or two on the Husqvarna FC 450 before round 2, so that's going to be something to watch. It could play a factor in this championship for sure. One thing I will say, I think it's going to be a little bit of an easier switch than what's being talked about, just because Webb is used to the Austrian platform. He was on a factory KTM not too long ago, and I think this benefits him even more because he's going to be able to do all those changes he wanted to do on that Factory K team the last year he was there. Well, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants at Team Tedder. They're going to do whatever he wants for suspension, whatever engine package. So I think he's going to be pretty happy on this Team Tedder bike come round 2 of the World Supercross Championship. Now, other than those top 3 dudes, we also have Christian Craig and Dean Wilson. Look, Craig had an insane 2025 FIM World Supercross Championship, so he's probably going to go out there and do some things. I know that he's trying to prove kind of his worth too right now. I think he's still working on a deal for 2027, so I'm sure he's going to try and get some great results for this World Supercross Championship. Dino, I'll be honest, Dean really surprised me when he did some races in the States at AMA Supercross this year. He did a lot better than I thought, so Dino's probably going to be one to watch as well. This top 5, much like the SX2 class, this top 5 is going to be really exciting to watch. Some more unfortunate news in the SX1 class. Obviously, Joey Savacci will not be racing round 1. Joey obviously went out Supercross a little early with an injury, and it doesn't sound like things are healed completely. Also been hearing some rumors that he's still working on a deal for stateside 2027, so I do think there's like a 20% chance we don't see Joey Savacci at any of the World Supercross rounds, depending on what he inks for 2027 stateside. So definitely going to watch that for sure. Other than that, guys, it should be an exciting season opener for the World Supercross crew. If you haven't already, go check out the track map. Looks like a pretty cool build, so hopefully Mother Nature holds out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited for some Supercross racing. Every year, like 50% way through the championship, whether it's Supercross or Motocross, I'm just looking forward to the next thing. So around Nashville this year in Supercross, I could not wait for outdoors, and now, man, I'm pretty much over outdoors and can't wait for Supercross. So really Factory 2 weeks ago at Glen Helen, and Bradley Leonette, if you remember that name, he's Bradley spun some laps on the Factory Desmo 450, and we have that first impression up as well. Yesterday, we posted the big and tall Clydesdale shootout on the 450s with Dominic Gayton and Steve Piattoni. So if you're over like 225 or over, I don't know, 6'2", you really want to see what type of bike you should get. As far as 450s, go check that out for sure. They have some interesting notes. Despite the break, we have been pretty busy, and looking forward to the 2027 bikes as they're starting to come out. I think we have a Cowie intro in the next month or so. I believe it's the 250, but maybe a 250 and 450. And yeah, I think the Austrian bikes will be here in another month too. So lots of new bikes are about to be dropped. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want to check out some first impressions. Other than that, let's get to some racing this weekend. Shout out to O'Neill. Thanks for all the love and support, and I'll see you guys next week.